What's up, everybody? Welcome again to the podcast. My name is Danny Hafelman, and I am the host of The Good in Today, where I believe that no matter what's going on in your world, there's some good in your day. And today I want to talk about happiness and what I've learned about it and, kind of the way that I define happiness. And we'll see if that makes sense or resonates with you and kind of go from there. And I should start with saying, I don't even know if I'm qualified to talk about this subject, and I don't know that anyone really is, if I can just say it that way, because I'm still figuring out what that really means, and especially figuring out what that means for me. And I think that's a big thing to kind of clarify, is it's going to be something different for everyone. But to really get going, let's talk about what we know happiness isn't. And for starters, we know it's not money. It doesn't matter how wealthy you become. It doesn't guarantee you happiness. And fame. We know it's not fame. Usually those are, coupled together. And yet you still hear tragic stories of people taking their lives all the time. We've had a bunch of celebrities in the last little while, and it really sucks. And it's usually not just celebrities, though, but those are the ones we hear about, and it brings a little more attention to the subject. And another thing that I want to make sure people know is it's not success. It's not a destination. It's not, I'll be happy when I've achieved these different things and I've achieved these different levels. I don't believe that's what's going to do it. And again, we can watch people and we know that that's not really the answer. Another thing that I just want to say that I really don't think happiness is a family. And that might be controversial to some people, because I know most people say, well, if you have a family and you have people who love you, then you can be happy. And one big thing to clarify with that is you can have all the external validation in the world and all of that motivation. Doesn't mean you'll be happy. Basically, if you don't like yourself, you're not going to accept that other people like you. You won't accept that they love you. And that's kind of a big key for me. And it's something that I've lived, because I have a beautiful family. I have an amazing wife. I have 2 amazing kids. And there's been times in my life where I wanted to take my life. I don't think I'm alone in that. And I think that's kind of another big part of this podcast for me, is making sure that people just know you're not alone. There's a lot of people that think this way, and it sucks, but it's real. So I just want to kind of point that out, that even if you have the family, the job, you have all these things, it's not going to be the determining factor in happiness. With that being said, here's what I believe happiness is. And it's something that I've kind of learned, but I believe happiness is a skill. And no matter where you are in your life, you can learn to do certain things that are going to make you happier. I was fortunate enough to kind of have that taught to me and introduced to me via a book. And I had a cool experience one time where I was at a sales training, and there was a guy teaching who I really looked up to. His name was Casey Baugh, and essentially he was only a few years older than me, but he was incredibly successful by all worldly standards. He had a lot of money. He'd gained really high success within the company, all the big things. And I asked him, what's your favorite personal development book? Or what's the book that you would recommend? And he gave me a gift, and he didn't give me a book. He asked me back a question. He said, what do you want to learn about? What do you want to study? That freaking hit me, because I realized I couldn't even give him a subject. I didn't know. And that was a few years ago. And what that did for me was it made me figure out, what do I want to figure out? And what that was for me is I wanted to become happy at the time. So I started looking into books, and I found a book by Shawn Achor. It was called The Happiness Advantage. And I recommend that book, hands down. It was a solid thing. And one thing that Shawn points out is, and Shawn's, by the way, a serious inspiration for this podcast, because his big thing was not to point out all the negative things, but actually give tactical tools to overcome and move towards a happier place. Does it mean you'll be a happy person? but you'll be a happier person. So it's kind of up to you there. But with that, he gave like 6 steps on things that you can actually do to become happy. This is why I believe happiness is a skill. There are things you can do and things that if you do them, they're not all easy at first, but if you continue to get better at them, which is a skill, something that you can learn and get better at, you will be a happier person. Whether you identify as happy, that's on you. But if you follow the steps, you can start to get better and better. So, brief rundown of like what his steps were. Essentially, he recommended that every day you do gratitude and you write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Doesn't have to be big. You don't have to get a promotion that day to be grateful for something. You could love that your grass is extra green. You could love that your coffee was like the right temperature. That was a great thing. Something small. Little things like that where they're hard to recognize at first if you're not used to doing it and you're in a negative mindset, but the more you do it, the better you will get. The second thing he recommended was journaling. Again, I believe there's some good in every day, even if your day sucked in your mind. So at some point, there was something good that happened, and he recommends journaling for 2 minutes. Write down every detail of one experience that happened. And I fully believe in that. That's why I say there's some good in every day. And guess what? It's freaking hard to find that some days. But if you learn the skill of finding that good thing that happened in your day and writing it down, eventually you'll start to be able to just recognize good things happening in your day. Third thing he recommended was exercise. Didn't even have to be anything crazy. If you did 15 minutes of going on a walk or gardening, that counts as exercise. It's getting outside, it's moving, it's just doing something. And it doesn't have to be outside, but you know what I mean. Third, that was the third. Fourth thing, I believe, was meditation. And he doesn't have to be 15 minutes, doesn't have to be 10 minutes. He recommended 2 minutes. Sit still and breathe. Focus on your breathing for 2 minutes a day, be in your own silence, and it's going to improve. The more you do it, the better you'll get. Again, this is a skill. And then the fourth thing, no, that was 4. Not good with numbers, guys. Plus, I record this late at night, so not helping. The last 2 things I think are, if not the most important, I'm going to say they're the most important. They're basically, he recommends every day you send a message to someone who you're grateful for something in their life or some positive note. Send something to someone telling them what they did to impact your life. And the last thing was make meaningful connections, meaningful relationships with other people. For me, that leads into fulfillment. And why that, like, those 2 steps to me are the most important is I know that times in my life when I've been like deepest, darkest times, if I go help someone else, suddenly I feel good. If I make someone else feel good, it makes me feel good. And I've had that time and time again where I will be kind of in we'll just say a down day, and out of nowhere, someone will reach out to me saying, "Hey dude, how did you overcome your depression?" And it's something I've been vocal about for a few years now. So I do have people that come to me for it. And what they don't always see is I'm not past it. Like it's something that I struggle with, and it comes in waves. And when I was in a really down, this last time, down wave, someone reached out on one of my worst days and said, "Hey, how did you get past it?" And via talking to him and kind of helping him process things he was thinking about, I just freaking felt better. And that was just a real thing. And I'm grateful for those times. And those became things that I wrote down like, hey, this is what I was grateful for. And it's really powerful. If you don't have people reaching out to you, which you probably don't, and I usually don't, it still means a lot if you reach out to that person who was your teacher in church back when you were in 7th grade and say, hey, this is something I remember that happened. Reach out to an old friend from high school and say, hey, do you remember that one time we did that one thing that was funny? Like, I just had that memory the other day and it was a good thought. So thanks for that. Sending that message will build the relationship and it will make you feel better because you know, like, you made someone else smile, like you did something. Through that is fulfillment. And you can look at any personal development leader in the freaking world. They will all tell you fulfillment is the number one thing. And that's really what this podcast is for me. I want some way to give back, to reach people, to put conversations out there that I think more people need to hear. And it's about support. It's about taking things that are too taboo and making them not taboo so people actually feel they can get help for things. Those are all important to me. This is my way of giving back. This is my way of finding fulfillment for me. And this is my happiness project. This is something that means a lot to me. I recommend everyone, or not recommend, I challenge you to find something that's fulfilling to you. And though you will find it in helping other people, something that fulfills you doesn't have anything to do with other people. You could like painting. You could like gardening. You could like learning a new language. If you're feeling fulfilled and you're feeling accomplished, it's going to help you. I'll just encourage you to figure out something that you're passionate about and something that makes you feel fulfilled, something that brings you joy that you can do. And if you don't know how to choose something, just start doing things and figuring out what you like and what you don't like. That's a start. And I'll finish with this. Along with believing happiness is a skill and it's something that you can learn and get better at, I believe happiness is on a spectrum. And you're going to have great days, you're going to have crappy days, you're going to have great weeks, great years, bad years, maybe, depending on who you are. You're going to have all of those feelings. And the big thing to recognize is just as you're capable of having happy moments, which means if you really learn how to recognize those, you're capable of being happy, even if you feel down, even if you feel not like you're supposed to be there, you're not good. If you're capable of laughing in a moment and being happy for that short period of time, you're capable of having that throughout a full day. And if you string together enough days of feeling happy, you can probably call yourself happy. And that's really a big thing for me is I used to identify as being depressed. And I really don't like to say that anymore. Like I've kind of taken that word out of my vocabulary until I started this podcast where I wanted to be able to openly talk about old feelings and things like that. And it's something that I'm going to try not to talk about as much in terms of just saying I am depressed, because I hate saying that. I don't even want to put that out there. I believe right now I'm a happy person, because though I may have really down days, I can go find those good things in the day and then they can go. And sometimes I may have a quote bad day, but really what happened was I had a really crappy moment and it pissed me off, and I allowed that moment to ruin my entire day. So try to recognize those things and figure out, are you really having a bad day or are you having bad moments? Because I'll bet if you really look at it, more days than not, your day went fine. And you may not have had anything spectacular happen, but nothing horrible happened either. Allow yourself to see good in the day and allow yourself to find things that make you happy. And I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate you, helping me build a community and be there to have conversations that people need to hear so that they know that they're not alone. I hope that helps somebody. I hope that comes out coherent enough that, you take something from this. Again, moving forward, I'll have a few of these up front that are me and really getting out more of my story, the way I think, and kind of my background. And then I'm going to start bringing on guests. And if you know someone that I should talk to, please let me know. Reach out. I'm easy to find. I'm on Instagram at thegoodhoff, thegood Hoff. Let me know. I want to have conversations with people, and I want to be able to really become a resource with this going down the road. So let me know what ways you want to interact, and let me know what you think, if this is helpful to you. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I'll see you guys next time.